where I'm going with this, if you will show me where that car is, I will pay you $5,000. All I need to do is walk up and document that it still exists. And obviously at that point in time, I'm gonna try to buy it. If I buy that car, whoever found the car that takes me to, I'm gonna pay you $50,000. So you got a $50,000 reward out there for car number 67402 Frank 2 Union 00939. All right, good morning. We've got a great one for you today. We're heading to French Lick, Indiana for the SAC meet, which is Shelby American Automobile Club. There's gonna be as many 50, 65 to 70 Shelbys there in the Concours division being judged. So some of the best judges in the world, some of the best restorers in the world, some of the best cars in the world will be there. But it's also Mustang Day. 65 to 70 Mustangs, as everybody knows, my favorite thing in the world. We're fortunate that sometimes we find 4 or 5 in one location. Really fortunate we get to buy one Shelby in one location. Let's go see 50 Shelbys. Grab your cup of joe and let's go. So we're in Louisville, Kentucky. We kind of backed off the Jeep rental mode as things were crazy expensive during COVID. Things have dropped down a lot. We always request a Jeep. Secondary request a Ram. Otherwise, if you don't see it on camera, we didn't get a Jeep or a Ram. Today we got a 2023 Rubicon JL. Unbelievable. Now, the parameters were need to walk around it for damage. If it's bigger than a golf ball or the scratch is longer than a dollar bill, you're good to go. When we walked around it, we're good to go. Let's go to French Lick.
I'm going out tonight. I'm gonna find myself a good time going down. When I get the feeling right, that just means that something out of sight was found. I got 5 bills on the table, a royal flush in hand. The horse has left the stable, I'll be riding high.
So we're up in the mountains at French Lick Municipal Airport picking up JD Pass. He decided to come in town for the Shelby American Automobile Club event. He's a big fan of Boss 429, so not only are there Shelbys here, there's 4 or 5 Boss 429s, and he's gonna fly his little puddle jumper crop duster thingy in here, so we're gonna pick him up. Nice landing. Must be the other guy flying and not JD. Pretty cool. JD just came in out of the clouds. You know what that means now that he showed up? It's time to go eat. What do you say, cowboy?
What you doing, Easy Money? Beautiful day.
It ain't hot.
No, it's
How'd you
damn
fly?
nice. It was wonderful. It actually was a good flight. Wasn't bumpy.
Zach,
how you doing?
I love your JD on the tail number.
Don't you love that?
So, but what I want to see next time when you land,
Okay.
I want to see
Inverted?
I was inverted.
a big old
Upside
decal
down?
on this plane that says cowboy.
Okay. We can do that.
Kid Rock's got his American Badass on the side.
Yeah.
Trump says Trump. What does yours say, cowboy?
We were discussing that up there today, so I'll put cowboy right across the top of that.
That's what we
deal right
need.
there. Big
That'd
gold
be
roads.
outstanding. Let's go eat. I'm starving.
I want this country fried steak platter.
All right.
I want 2 egg scrambled whale, white gravy, that'll work. Hash browns, biscuits, side of bacon,
Okay.
and I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Huh?
I want the peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
For real?
Yes, sir, for real. And it doesn't come with gluten-free bread, right?
Nope.
And I want grape jelly on it. Good. Jay, look at that.
Wow.
Man. Oh, boy.
We got the bowl.
Okay.
What is scrambled egg? Scrambled.
Scramble right here.
Right here. All right.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
You got the grits, right?
Yes.
All right.
Fried green tomatoes and onion petals.
Just in the middle of the table.
And we have a side order of bacon.
Right here.
And Anything else
JD's.
for you guys?
Yeah, I just throw this over here, and then you take
Okay.
that plate.
It's good to me.
It looks awesome.
Fried green tomatoes, onion petals, 3 eggs over easy, hash browns, sausage, bacon, and you win. Chicken fried steak
Chicken
and
fried steak,
PB&J.
scrambled eggs, peanut butter and jelly. You got it all.
This thing grits, right?
No, I don't want it.
Right here, grits.
He's got the grits.
I'm missing grits.
Yeah, I got this little napkin for this big meal.
I'll give you some more.
Here you go. Now hold on.
I want to see you eat a bite of that peanut butter jelly sandwich.
Hold on. Here it comes. I don't want to get it on my clothes. Ready? Gluten-free white bread.
I'm pretty sure it's not.
Good.
God, can you imagine how much sugar's in that thing? That's awesome, JD. Well, I'm going to start off with a fried green tomato.
I don't know why we order all this.
I do.
To entertain the crowds.
I'm going to eat all mine. You got the best bite because you got chicken fried
Chicken
steak.
fried steak,
You
brother.
win. All right, JD wins for the best bite and best meal.
That was outstanding. Made the fat man happy again.
So
once
now we
more.
can start the day. We're doing coffee walk backwards today, cowboy.
I know, I've kind of recognized that. Everything's kind of went backwards all day today, but now we are getting to go see some really cool Shelbys. I think
Right.
the first 3 Shelbys built GT500s are supposed to be here today.
I did not know that, but I do know that the prototype 67's here, show number 3.
Oh, that's cool.
And a bunch of Boss 429s. You like that
Well, I
stuff?
love them.
All right, let's go see some
You
Mustangs.
remember my...
It's on to a new joint in the next town with my good luck on display. I know that I'll get my point across when I lay all the other hands to waste. I got 5 bills on the table, a royal flush in hand. The horse has left the stable and I'll be riding high again.
Listen, JD, I wonder what's under the hood. He's not listening. He's still thinking about that peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Pills by the hour.
I wonder what's under the hood.
I don't know, probably 6 of them.
There you go.
I'm thinking it is.
You know, right off the bat was
And that's why I want to look under the hood.
sort of crazy strange because there's no GT350 or GT500 in with this.
There's no badging on it whatsoever,
Or
except
the
for
louvers.
this and the louvers.
So,
That's right.
well, the louvers, which means it should be a big block air car. Right, Brian?
Big block air car.
With the louvers, it should be a big block air car, right?
It should be. It should
Okay.
be. Except,
Which you never see.
right. Matter of fact, we got Jason here. Jason, thanks for joining us.
How are you, sir?
Jason Phillips.
Nice to see you.
How are you, Dennis?
Steady pass. Nice to meet you. You bet.
you.
So I've been, I
that
think
you
you're
in the
talking to
picture,
restoring the supercharged car, right?
Is that him in the picture?
Yep.
Jason, is this you right here? I'm just kidding.
I don't think I'm that old.
No, I'm picking at you.
So we're still on for early next year?
Yeah,
Okay, so
we're actually working on another supercharged car that Brian's been tracking dates and stuff on. And then this car, we were kind of hoping to do all of them at the same time, but I'm not sure if Brian's ready to start on this one yet because he's still uncovering lots of little things with it and he doesn't want to go through 2 restoration processes. So
well, you know what? That's why we're here. That's why we're
that's
here.
kinda- yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
we kinda
Literally
talked
why
about
we're here. So thanks to you 2 guys and Chris Woodside and many other guys, the mystery of 1447 is completely solved. Completely.
yeah, I would agree.
And so now we need to solve this mystery.
Another mystery, another enigma of a car.
And I had another day in
So
office.
if we could solve this,
Yeah,
then you'd have 3 in your shop at the same time.
yeah.
And you're good to go with
So
that?
this is the holdup?
It's the holdup. Brian's the holdup.
Well, yeah, like I said, don't want to restore another car another time.
Yeah.
You know, it's expensive.
Right.
Plus,
Not says the man with the largest pinball machine collection. I mean, come on.
well, what makes this one special, we believe, is that this is another engineering car.
I think
And engineering cars evolve over time. It's really difficult to pinpoint a point in time when we want to restore it to. Do we restore this car back to the day it was born, the day it became a Shelby? That's easy. We got pictures of that. But if this car truly served an important role at Ford's headquarters in Dearborn, do we want to restore it to that point with this louvered hood, outboard high beams, and what lies beneath? That's what we need to figure out, and that's why we're looking forward to this episode, because let's crowdsource that answer. Let's hear from people in the field that might have firsthand knowledge of this car.
I agree. The crowdsourcing in Little Red helped tremendously.
Well, we talked a little bit of them a while ago. You know, I had the very first two Pontiacs.
That's
And
right.
The serial number 1 Pontiac, it's like they just took everything off the shelf and tacked into it. I mean, hell, there was a clock stuck right in the middle of the damn floor for no reason. A lot of these options that are probably on this car never made it to anything, and so at the end of the day, you've got a car that's just got all these little surprises, and like you said, I do believe it is just exactly what you say it is.
You two guys have had a lot of time to go over this car, but I haven't even seen it.
I want to raise the hood.
He wouldn't even send me a picture of it. I didn't even know what color it was.
You wouldn't send him a picture?
Maybe one. I got to tempt your tummy somehow. So maybe
Yeah.
one
You never sent me a picture of this. I had no idea what color this car was, nor do I know what color it's supposed to be. But I was not.
Still don't?
No. When I walked down and the car was white, I've seen that picture where the engineering cars are there sitting there in white. So when I first walked in, I was like,
That's
okay,
it.
it's an engineering car.
Yeah.
But what color was it?
Well,
Look, can we go? I know you guys have gone over the car, but I want you to go over the car.
we're going to go over it
Yeah.
together. We're gonna go over it
Let's
together.
do it.
That's what
This-
I'm saying.
You
The whole
want to bring
idea.
Tim in?
Well, I'd love to have Tim here.
Stick my face in there.
JD Pass. Nice to meet you, Tim.
Tim, our goal is to try to reach out to everybody out there that's watching in the Mustang Shelby world to help you guys. Not that y'all need help, because these are the most knowledgeable Shelby guys, in my opinion, on the planet, certainly for 67s. So I think the more we can put out, hopefully the more we'll get back.
Right.
But I haven't seen this car. I want to see it. I want you guys to tell me what y'all think, and then hopefully somebody out there that was at the plant at that time,
Hopefully someone remembers.
will chime in. And we know they're out there. I mean, finding Metzger and all that stuff.
And that's exactly what happened with the crowdsourcing with Little Red. Walter Nelson was the one that actually put the dual superchargers on Little Red, and he came forward because of crowdsourcing and because of getting that out there. And he actually lived in Phoenix at the time and came over to Craig's shop and started telling him exactly how he built the car. So
Incredible.
I mean, this, and then brought pictures forward that we had never seen before. He actually said he got in a dumpster and dug out photos that he seen Craig throw in the dumpster. So I mean, this could happen with this car too through this.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
So thank you guys for having us. I'm honored to be here. I mean, you guys, the knowledge you have. So let's go. Y'all start on it. I'm going to step back and I'm going to listen.
Well,
Yeah, I want to learn, yeah.
And here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the facts.
Okay.
We know how this car was born. We figured that out, and that's a certainty.
You get back over here.
So this is the car
Dark moss green.
of how it was
Or
originally
black.
born. That's dark
It's
green.
moss green,
Okay.
yeah.
And a lot of folks have probably seen this in many books. This was a black and white photo. There's Carol standing with the car. This was a PR photo. So this car was born on October 19th as a Shelby, first day of production, alongside car 18. All right,
Which was when in 66?
October 19th. That would have been the first month
Month
that
of
Shelby's were
production, yeah.
completed.
Okay.
And it was pretty promptly shipped. It was originally destined to be a Los Angeles area show car, and then it was repurposed. And both the two cars that were finished on the first day, 3 and 18, were shipped up to Dearborn for Ford's
Okay.
use.
Okay.
So because of these photos, took us a little while to figure things out. This particular backdrop here is the Ford North American Automotive Operations Building. I should say the former building. It no longer stands. All right, but in this photo is actually captured from a video. And that video is the 1967 Shelby
Shelby commercial.
television
Yeah,
commercial.
that's it.
Wow.
The man, Carroll Shelby, engineer, race driver. The car, the Shelby Mustang GT.
To build my kind of car, I had to take an existing car and modify it. I could have chosen any set of wheels I wanted. I picked Mustang. Mustang is styled right. lean and strong looking, not fat and round. And Mustang has that long list of features and options. I'll tell you, when it comes to imitations, I've seen some, but competition for the original, I haven't seen any. Only Mustang makes it happen. These aren't just words, it's a fact.
Ford has a better idea.
So the gentlemen in this photo here are none other than Carroll Shelby and Donald Fry, gentlemen who invented the Mustang.
Who looks
Just like him.
eerily just like who eerily looks like Metzger.
Yeah.
Yes,
that does.
yes.
That's we'll put that over there.
And then when you start piecing together the puzzles to, you know, put the detective hat on, if you look at things like Carroll Shelby's tie, that's the same
tie.
We can probably safely conclude these photos were taken on the same day. All right.
I would agree with that.
And if this is the Ford North American Automotive Operations main entrance, we believe that this brick wall
Is a sidewall.
is a sidewall of the outbuilding. We actually have aerial shots of that campus, and you know, we put it all together. Now, the other shots we've got, Ed, if you could grab them off the table for me there, the Detroit International Auto Show. So, the car, after it did this PR photo and after it did the television commercial, then appeared in the Detroit International Auto Show at Cobo Hall, the end of November, beginning of December of '66. And the question is, how do we figure out it's this car? All right, so here's where the detective hat comes on. Take a look at the placement, of the emblems on the fenders of this car. They are not the regular production location. They are centered on the fenders rather than lower into the door edge. Yep. And when you look at clues like that, it helps us kind of piece together that it's the same car. Now, we also have a photo over here. Let's take a look over here. This is car 18. Car 18 was the other day one production car. Right? Also went to Ford's headquarters and then bounced up to Oakville, which is Ford of Canada's headquarters, for magazine tests. If you look at this car and this car, both have the centered fender emblems. That's a day one oddity.
Both have the GT gasket.
Yes, they got the GT gasket too.
That car was restored by Chris Brown about 15
Yes,
years
it was.
ago.
But you said this was a Canadian car?
Well, no, it was built
It was
the
built
same
here,
day.
but it went to Canada.
If we look at our
Yeah.
if we look at our chart here, okay, 1019, one white car, one green car. That's these two cars.
Okay.
All right. And they were both shipped up to Dearborn, and then this one was forwarded up across the Great Lakes to Oakville, Ford of Canada's corporate headquarters building. So again, similarities in the cars, and that's what we do when we're kind of putting together the pieces of these engineering cars, is looking for similarities. Because when you look at one car, you can't explain why it has one feature. When you look at 3 or 4 cars that all have this common feature, it starts to make a little bit more sense. It starts to become a little bit more believable, you know? So this is what we do know about the car. We know how it started early in life as a show car, as a public relations car. Where it really gets interesting is what we don't actually know. What did it do after its public relations duty?
Tour.
Yeah, what did it do afterwards?
Just with
How long
a
was
quick
it on
look,
tour, do you
it's
know?
had a lot of,
It's had a lot of fun.
well, I mean, with a quick look, there's a lot of 68 parts on it.
But
Which was
when it was
typical
on
of an
tour,
engineering car.
how long was it on tour? It was like,
And there's some 69 and 70
Yeah,
parts
that's
on it.
what I'm
Looks like
wondering.
69
how many
meters,
miles
right?
was on?
The thing is, I don't know that we're going to be able to tell whether these were added at Shelby Automotive or previous owner. This is going to be tough to dissect and be able to prove that happened.
So I've had some of the Avanti supercharged cars and some really good internal documents, and my theory is the reason there's not very many supercharged 67 GT350s is because Avanti was using up all the superchargers because Avanti actually owned Mercola at that time. So they weren't giving Carroll what he needed or wanted. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but that looks like Avanti script to me. could be Ford, I guess.
The other thing, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, 68, there wasn't the program to do supercharged GT350s. But then when they did the cost analysis, they said who's going to want to spend this amount of money for a GT350 when the GT5.
I think everybody in this group will have both hands up.
We know how much better these cars run than the big blocks, but back then they were like, are the consumers going to pay the money for a small block or big block when they both perform the same?
Okay,
so they dropped that out of the program.
You've heard me say this multiple times. I'm not here to upset anyone on the planet, but my favorite Shelby to drive is a 67 supercharged 4-speed.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so the guys have GT500s. I have several of them, but
they don't handle.
That's the car to drive. Yeah, they push. They're too heavy.
Well, they're just heavy straightaway cars.
They nosedive, they push, they don't handle.
Put two blowers on a big block, it really runs good.
They overheat.
But you still got to get through the corner.
Spoken like somebody's tried it,
You still got to get through the corner.
Yes.
Well, I heard you guys talking a little bit about superchargers in 68, and this document right here, I got two documents for you. This document is one of my favorite documents from an engineering perspective because in January of 67, Shelby outlined their vision for what the 68 was supposed to be. And it talks about things that we found on other engineering cars. It talks about louvered hoods. It talks about changes to the front end, bright work on the face of the car, outboard high beams as we call it. It talks about changes to the taillight panel to protrude less into the trunk or possibly change to use a different type of Ford product lens, light, like a 65 Thunderbird, right? So this document even talks about racing stripes. This car that got those racing stripes, that's car 544, often referred to as the Super Snake. That was a racing stripe.
Jim Haddon's car.
Yes.
Know the car very well.
All right. So this document is a great source for us to go back to. And he talked about the plan for superchargers in 68. Well, from the press release, we know that Shelby did plan or did want to have a 427, but that was, stopped.
Yep.
But here's a document dated May 19th of 67. This is, I believe, an A.O. Smith document. And it talks about projections for the 68 program. And in the 68 program, there were plans for small block and big block supercharged cars, as well as small and big block fuel injected cars, right? You remember this?
Yep.
With the Green Hornet.
Yes.
So what is it? I think I know it, but I don't want to mispronounce the name of the fuel injection that was on that car.
Conolette.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks pretty complicated.
We've all had experiences with it.
It is, okay. It looks very complicated.
There are only two of those cars functioning on the planet right now. Craig owns both of them. Car number 101 and then the Green Hornet. They're the only two that have the Conolec on them that function today.
56.
Okay.
And that wouldn't have been possible without the help of
somebody knowing what
But that wouldn't have been possible to put that in production either, right?
it was actually, the plans were, it was going to go into production.
That's what that is.
It was one meeting away from going into production.
Crazy expensive. I mean, that's not a Paxton. I mean, that's
David Long was the one that designed it.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to meet with some people, Carol and a lot of the people at Shelby Automotive, and he decided not to show up at that meeting that night. And
who didn't show up?
David Long.
Really?
And Chris Long, the son of David Long, is the one that actually did all of the fuel injection work on the Green Hornet and the Conolec fuel injected car, the gold car that Pete restored.
Yep.
So those are the only two that function. Now there's a dozen of them that were built, but those are the only two that run.
okay.
So on that system.
As in most early fuses and superchargers.
Right.
Yeah.
So as we get around this car, my initial thought is, which I've only walked around it, is because Pontiac did this on the 73 Super Duty. In 74 they reskinned it. They reskinned it in 75. Mm-hmm. Then AMC commonly did that on all the race cars.
Yeah.
So if you had a super stock race car, you had to reskin it
to bring it up to the
the
modern
season. But
yeah.
it looks to me like this is like 3 years of parts, engineering parts. I mean,
Engineering evolution, right?
Yeah, they decided to do it, they put it together.
So hit on the big stuff, and I think you guys have got all the knowledge, but it looks to me that there's quite a few things on the back that are 68.
There's some stuff that even I saw last night that to me goes past the date that you have that this car was released and sold from Ford. And I'm looking at some stuff in the back, I'm like, that wasn't even in production.
Let's check
Well, that's
this
what
out.
we want to see.
Yeah.
How did the car leave Shelby? what was done to it, if our theory about it being an engineering car is correct,
And what was done later.
and what may have happened later.
Like the rear view mirrors possibly. And stuff like
The
that.
69 rear view mirrors are very likely possible. So the question is, when did this car leave Ford? In other words, if the public relations was over with in December, and you figure
Early January, February.
January, February, March, April, May document, June, July, was all 68 engineering.
Right.
We have an invoice that apparently is Shelby invoicing Ford for selling the car to an employee very cheap.
Well, now I was going to maybe comment something a little probably rougher than that, but yeah, Shelby's records.
I think Shelby was a bit upset.
Yeah,
Now, I'll tell you why.
That's a D78. It's an AMC that's there, right?
But
I think it's
remember
AMC.
the Space Saver tire came out in 68 on the Cougar, 68, that they probably were going to put it in 68 cars to save room in the trunk, especially the fold down seat. It took up too much room. So they started this tire in 68.
How
What do
cool
you
is
think that's
that?
an AMC rim?
Dennis is probably more of an
I
expert
think
on
that's all they
that.
could find when they did this. Put
The
this in
bolt
there.
pattern was the
Well, that's
same
what
as
I mean, this whole thing.
They
to me
just had the idea
screams,
of using
I
the
went and got
Space
parts
Saver,
off the shelf,
trying to
whatever
see
was
how
there.
it fit in here.
Yeah.
Did Kelsey
Yeah.
Hayes
Same
ever
room.
make a Space Saver wheel?
No,
No, that's the Ford Motor Company.
BF
wheel right
Goodrich.
there.
BF Goodrich made the tire, the Space Saver.
But it was motor wheel that made the wheel.
Yeah, rim, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same wheels that were on the Lawman.
Yeah,
Same
well,
company,
Same
not
company.
wheels.
It was either
Same
Kelsey
company.
Hayes or motor wheel with the two big manufacturers.
So you mentioned a document earlier about taillights. I haven't seen that setup before. It looks like they.
Picture of the.
Oh, yeah.
You see that? It's totally different.
Yeah.
This is actually, these are 68 Shelby production outer tail light pieces for the recesses. And what they've done here is they've laid them over each other.
Right.
And they've actually even radius cut into them so they fit over the next bulb. Brian's going to have a picture of what the production units look
See,
like.
and the only person that would ever, you would had to be engineering to do that.
Yeah.
That no
I agree.
individual would
There's
ever
nobody
do
ever
that.
thought of that.
I mean, why would they do that?
Or you were,
check this out.
you were the guy working in the shop, as they call it, at A.O. Smith, the production shop, and you'd wait, I know I have something on the shelf that'll work there. But
Well, and again, going back to you find it on an isolated example, it's hard to believe. But when you've seen it before,
Yeah.
which was what sold me on this car, believing it's an engineering car, is when I popped this trunk. Let me take a step back. This car was found an hour away from Ford's headquarters in Flint, Michigan, with the same owner since 1972, a gentleman by the name of Gary Drago. And he was very adamant about preserving this car. He goes, I know there's something special about it. He knew it was special. And I went there a year ago and looked at the car, and I said, I believe you have an engineering car. And we started talking. I started sharing paperwork with him. And it kind of became pretty apparent that Gary was ready to pass the torch.
Well, this is later too, isn't it, Tim?
Oh, the fin, or the spoiler.
Tim, this is later too, right?
what's that?
This is much later decade, right?
Well, yeah, the fiberglass is a bit of a mystery, and there's a bunch of things going on here. We got the chopped glass, which is, and it's a 67, it's not a 68 trunk lid, but we got the chopped glass trunk lid and the chopped glass hood, which are, I mean, the louvered hood was earlier, but typically about mid-year 67 is when they got away from the steel frame. But we got a couple other interesting things here too. If you know the early 67s, you look at the black car over there, they had the running light up here.
Exactly.
Well, there's no hole here. So either this was reworked and filled in, or this is a later scoop, which I suspect it is because it's also chopped glass. Most of the early ones were cloth. The lower scoops, we got functional brake scoops, which were phased out halfway through, I don't know what,
Late April.
late April.
Yeah,
We're
early
phased out, but we got functional scoops on here, but they're the later, they're like the version 2. They're not the ones that would have been on the first 100 cars. So every bit of fiberglass on this car is different than what
It appears to have been
what
updated.
it would have been when it was built as a first 100 car. So why? I don't know.
Well, Little Red, whenever we found it in the field, it had been updated to 68 production fiberglass, and we know Little Red stayed in inventory until March or April of '69. So could they have done this at Shelby Automotive? But we don't think this car ever went to Shelby Automotive, do we?
We do not.
We don't, but there's, and again, this goes back to the document that he has that shows this being released from their inventory in August 67.
It appears to be August 10th of 67 is the loss of sale invoice
So
for selling the car to an employee.
To me, these panels, I mean, maybe they were in engineering. To me, those weren't even available in August of 67. I don't think those would have been available till later, a little later in the year. So how did, if the car's out of Shelby's hands, how did it get Shelby parts on?
So you're saying it never left?
I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying that A plus B doesn't add up.
Add up. That's
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to, there's two ways, probably two ways that we can say that parts ended up on this car. They either ended up at Ford while the car was serving engineering duty, or after that by the first owner, which appears to have been a Ford employee.
Right.
Do you guys have a definitive answer on the louvered hoods? Was that only big block air cars,
Yes.
or did some of the
Well,
early
yeah.
cars have that and they just hadn't figured out?
There's some speculation, and I think it's more of a just convenient excuse that they had these hoods left over and they just started putting them on big block cars at the end. May or may not be true. I don't think so.
According to the daily production reports, that hood was referred to as the GT500 air-conditioned hood.
Yes.
That was only supposed to go on air-conditioned cars.
Which were how many?
The GT500 air-conditioned cars.
I know, but how many of those were built?
No, yeah, it's 100 and something. I just had one.
122, I believe.
Yeah.
Retail cars, plus you had the 4 engineering cars prior to that. It's about 126 total.
Okay.
Now, twice that many GT500 air conditioning cars had been ordered prior to that. And those were all the cars that the DSOs that got canceled because of the overheating issue that they had to solve by creating that louvered hood, moving the inboards, outboards, oil cooler, and the aluminum bodied air conditioning compressor. That all had to take place, and that problem was solved by March.
Okay.
By March. The orders were all canceled for like 250-ish GT500 air conditioned cars in February, and half that amount was reordered in March. And then they did the official 4-speed 500 air conditioned cooling tests at the high-speed Texas test track at the end of March. Okay. That was the official one. That's the one that the 427 car was doing the Thunderbolt tire testing at. Same track, same weekend. So that's the timeline of those hoods, and it is specifically referred to as the GT500 Aircon hood on the daily production reports, which are a very rare document to have for these cars. About 400 cars are shown on those documents. The outboard, as we call it, the outboard high beams, on those same documents is referred to as the 67.5 front end.
Okay.
Shelby terminology. These were also,
I like halves.
Yeah.
these were called
We've
shells.
done well with halves.
Before we get off the top,
Yeah, I wanted to
that
show
was
that. Look at this thing.
that was in the coupe, car 131, Little Red.
So it's basically the same.
Very similar.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, they're similar.
Yeah.
They were solving the same problem.
I think what these are the cups that they used in the 68s, and they just took the flat panel off them, and they put a hole in and they bonded that cup
was
in there.
actually a flat piece of metal, and it
And
had
they went
blue,
in and put
it
them
had
in,
blue textured vinyl over the top of it. And that was exactly what was in Little Red when it was in the field. Now, we built a second version of Little Red for Craig. We called it Little Red 2. So we put all of the fiberglass and this kind of stuff on the second coupe. So he's got the real car, and then he's got all the engineering parts off of this car on the second car. But Lowell Otter's engineering car had the exact same taillight panel.
Were these two separate pieces? In other words, that was not pressed in the metal?
It was not
Yeah,
pressed in the
because
metal. So it's different.
Yeah,
than
that's
these.
why I would say this is a difference than this one here, because it was already pressed into the
They're pressed
metal.
into the
Yeah,
panel.
this is added later.
And if you look at some of those panels, they also have like a 1 1/4 inch hole. What that was for the light wire for the dynamite sticks that the 68 used.
And this car's got dynamite sticks on it.
It's got dynamite sticks. They weren't used for that purpose because they're all inside the trunk.
Right.
That was to get the dynamite sticks to the outboard 65 T-bird style lights.
So dynamite sticks are what makes the taillights
Sequencers.
sequence back and forth like a T-bird.
But, yeah.
Like the Wylie Coyote dynamite sticks.
There you go. So from peeking inside, I think that I'm totally with you guys. It's an engineering car, but by peeking inside just real quick, you got a wood grain dash.
Yep.
You got a 68 console, right?
Right.
Are these Cougar seats?
Yeah, they look like Cougar seats to me, and I was going to say that.
Because they're wider.
Yes, and just the way the whole shoulder all the way up to the top.
69, yeah, they're 69.
I think they're Cougar seats, and the only reason I know,
Cougar or they Grande seats?
we just did quite a bit of research on one of our Strop Broncos. It has these seats in it.
Yeah, we're also saying they could be the Grande seats.
Okay.
Mustang, which
So 69 Grande?
Yeah, I think the
yeah.
Cougar would have been more plush. It would have been a more plush seat than this.
Yeah,
This
these
is
are
a
Mustangs.
Are they the
Yeah, convertible.
Okay, here's something. I'm sure you guys have figured this out. I don't think I've ever seen that. What is that?
Okay.
This Cobra Jet emblem is.
You want that?
I've never seen one look like that.
All right, so there is an engineering drawing for that emblem with the red background. Tom McIntyre, who just for ASCO designed all these, a month later revised it and did it with a black background.
Okay.
We've seen this on 2 cars, and there's a rumor of one on a 3rd car, right?
Correct.
The only other car besides this car we've seen it on was 68 number 56, which was one of the engineering cars that they tested a Paxton on. So,
Okay.
So the one with the Paxton could very well be the 3rd car.
Well, there's just
we don't know if that had anything to do
there's
with
just
Paxton
no
cars.
way that this is not an engineering car.
It's unusual
Where are you
that
gonna get that
the
stuff?
2
You just-
in existence are on Paxton cars.
Well, you got the other thing.
Well,
that
how do you say it's not an engineering?
It's got to be an engineering car.
I
it
thought
has
you
to
said
be.
it wasn't.
No, it
Yeah, I
has
mean,
to be.
everything to me
There's
says
no way you
screams
can't
it's
say
an
it has
engineering
to.
car.
Well, you kind of went right past to get to that prototype or 2 known
The center console.
rumored of a 3rd emblem. You went past the center console, but you also went right past the wood grain.
Wood grain.
Now, wood grain was clearly something that was implemented in 68,
Yep.
Right.
but we have found it on several engineering cars in 67.
Yep.
Okay? If this is an engineering car, it fits because it's an engineering car.
Yep.
We also found it recently on car 56, 67, number 56. It was on Little Red, the coupe. It was ended up on 139, the convertible, 463, the other 68 advertising car, right? The AC cooling test car. So the wood grain was clearly something that was being applied to cars in engineering,
Yep.
right? In preparation for the documented 68 program. This car has it. Does it make it an engineering car? Well, it's not conclusive, but it certainly smells like it.
I ain't seen any.
So,
reason
see in the
to
center
doubt it.
console, there's Paxton gauges, supercharged gauges. I know you've researched this
That's
tremendously.
56.
Out of the 35 cars, how many, if any, actually came with those gauges from the factory?
Well,
Not many.
not how many
67?
68 Paxton cars were there? Because you wouldn't have got a console on a 67.
No, I'm actually
Right.
talking about, yeah, correct, but they had them in the separate pod, right, for 67? But
This is
were those
31.
over-the-counter only
the
for it,
steering wheel.
or did they actually come
Well,
with them?
I got a little history with 68 Paxton
Still have the
cars.
wood grain here.
Because we have engineering drawings of the
AM, FM radios.
68 Paxton
AM,
center
that is-
console.
yeah.
That was to be
Yeah.
built, but we don't actually ever have one.
Okay.
We don't think it ever went out of production. We also have it on ledger, part numbers for fuel pressure and manifold gauges from Stuart Warner. We've never seen it. So there was the program was starting. They were going to put Paxtons.
But how about the gauges for 67 itself? Because those gauges to me look a little bit different
Yeah.
than the ones
This
I've
would be
seen
what I would
in the
expect on
67.
the Paxton
I mean,
gauges, right?
Are they?
For a
They
68.
look different to
Right.
me.
Yeah, these are the Paxton gauges. The 68, the ones that we see on the ledgers from A.L. Smith actually have Stuart Warner part numbers.
So, but my question is, did any of them actually leave the factory with those gauges, or did people just put them in there?
On a 68 or 67?
67.
I don't know the answer
I don't
to
have
that.
an answer for that either.
I think there
I
are
imagine they
probably
could probably put some in there, but
yeah, I imagine. I mean, those gauges are unobtainium.
Yes.
So if they were with a car, they'd probably still be around.
So for those of you who have them sitting on your shelf, social is cbjeep.com.
But they were, the other thing too is, and I think Conley, I think was the one who told me, Craig Conley, who's the modernist at Paxton. I think he's the one who has a cancel or has a purchase order from Shelby to Paxton for 500 units. There's an actual purchase order, and then they canceled the sale, which Paxton, there was some rift between Paxton and Shelby because they said we're going to buy 500, and then they said we're not going to. So they had full intention in '68 to build those cars.
So
No question.
Are those two gauges the only pair known to exist?
No.
No.
Okay, so there's more out there for 68s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and when I was talking to Craig Conley,
Yep.
you know, he was saying that the gauges were optional. Like if he was selling a retail over the counter, you know, setup, the gauges were optional, and so were the supercharged.
Man, I tell you, if I'm running a supercharger, I want the gauges. I guess we put the cart ahead of the horse. We talked about all the supercharged stuff. I assume there's a supercharger on it.
so much for opening the hood and the surprise.
That makes you see how big it is.
That's what she said.
Voila. Now that's sick.
And it's pretty typical of what a
Supercharger was.
67 version.
That
would look
absolutely.
like.
And you know, when I saw the car a year ago, you know, you open up the hood, you see a supercharger on a car. It's not one of the 34 factory documented retail cars, so you instantly discount it, right? I mean, someone added it. But then a day later, you're reviewing your pictures and like, wait a second, this Cobra Jet emblem on the dash doesn't make sense. Now that's out of place. And then you start doing the research, and boy, I haven't heard Pete Disher so excited since he found Little Red. And he calls me up and he's like, that's a prototype emblem. Well, we saw it on 56 and 60 and 68. And we started putting pieces together. And the long and short of it is that it became a theory that the Shelby Cobra was going to be the 68 model, and the Shelby Cobra Jet was going to be the supercharged variant of that, right?
You agree with
Very
that?
cool.
Yeah.
It just didn't come to fruition.
The J, the 500J, which
Blueprint over there.
he's got the blueprint.
So my theory, let's put it this way. We know that when Ford acquired Shelby, they were acquiring two trade names, right? Shelby and Cobra. And we have a letter that says, well, we're going to have one car, so what are we going to do? We're going to put both names on one car, the Shelby Cobra. Now, you wouldn't call a Shelby Cobra Jet, because it would be a Shelby Cobra Jet, it would sound like you're stuttering, okay, right? So you'd call it the Shelby Cobra Jet, if that was a different model. So we have documentation that the Shelby Cobra was planned to be the name by the press release in July. And then we have the optional supercharged engine for the 350. That was going to be the optional engine as of July. You've got the J on the blueprint. It seems to make sense that the Shelby Cobra Jet was going to be the alternate model.
So,
Is this like a second version?
I totally agree this is an engineering car. But why does this not show up as one of the 34, 35 Paxton cars?
Well, Little Red doesn't either.
Okay.
Because,
The Paxton issue.
well, no, because engineering cars weren't documented.
That's right. But I mean, but there's no documentation even really for the
But however,
Paxton supercar.
wasn't there a cost associated with this car?
Good question.
So where I'm going with this, wouldn't this car have been more expensive than a base car?
It would. Well, let's talk about what a supercharger would cost. If your 67 had a factory-equipped supercharger, all right, that was a $479 wholesale cost, a $549 retail cost. Huge money. A lot of money. Well, it's adding 46% more horsepower, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
30% of the cost of the car.
Yeah. Now, I read something, I think it was a Motor Trend article, and you guys may be able to help me on this, that Motor Trend said that the advertised cost of a Paxton setup in 66, including the gauges, was $670.
That's half.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there, but that may have to do with it being factory installed, and maybe Shelby going, hey, we're going to give you a credit for the 715 Le Mans carburetor we're taking off, right, to put the C6ZF-F carburetor on it inside the clamshell. And somewhere around here, these are two different ledgers, company car ledgers that list the fixed assets, or the company cars, right? Wow. This is March 31st, and this is July 31st. We also have a third one over there, which is the end of August. So in March, this is the first known company car ledger that we found. Here's car number 3, all right, valued at $4473.55.
I've never seen one anywhere near that much money.
Well, it is the most expensive GT350. Well, let me take that back. It is the most expensive GT of 350s and 500s
that were built
on this ledger.
So we're at $4,472 versus, these cars lower end were $3,200 to $3,300, $3,800, but had to be a supercharged car. I mean, there's nothing else you could add that would be that expensive.
Well, you got the cost of, now let's talk about our timeline again, because that's super important. The car was originally built and pretty promptly shipped to Ford.
So there's a little freight in it.
You got a potential freight charge. The car was at Ford when this ledger was created.
Yeah, but even freight back then is not more than $100. I mean,
well, a $479 supercharger plus freight, possibly air freight, maybe it was a rush job. Even if it was a lot of money. Again, there's a few different variables
That's $1,000
that add up to it. But you asked about the price, and I think if my memory is correct, the difference between car 3, GT350 4-speed, and the next closest one, GT350 4-speed, car number 50, the white PR car, the magazine car, is $677.07.
Cheaper.
Well, it's $670. It seems to be that number.
Cost of a
supercharger.
Yeah.
But Jason, haven't you researched the numbers on these superchargers?
No,
or have
Brian.
you? So Brian, have you researched? Because
They're all dated.
Well, there's a serial number on that supercharger.
That's another interesting
So there's a serial number on that supercharger that decodes.
okay,
With
you got to answer every question.
with a date and a sequence number. That you put that all together. It's C for Cobra, 4-digit sequence number, 5-digit date. You break that down. Here's how this car fits into the list of all known, or when I say known, cars that I have serial numbers for.
Gotcha.
And it fits right in.
These right here.
Right in. They're all February 10th manufacture dates. 67.
So you could check that out of what they've documented. And we're going to walk over and look at the number on the supercharger, which obviously lines up with the car. I mean, nobody's going to fake that.
No.
I mean,
see
fortunately,
it?
Paxton had those records that they
Can you see it?
translate.
That's incredible.
And there's a lot of other stuff. This gray hose,
That's
that's assembly line or
Yeah.
period
Period
correct
correct.
hose. Any Paxton made
Would have been
10
black.
years after this car would have been black. This is like if you're trying to restore one of these cars, to find the stuff is impossible. So it's
It
pretty
looks
cool.
like it came off a
I
drive.
was going to say, you get it. It's not impossible. Just go to
Close.
local Ace Hardware.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Now, I also point out that this has obviously been taken apart and serviced because the
bolts,
the,
yeah.
the security wire, which was
missing.
attached around here, is missing. But here is the original bolt with the hole in it that would have been threaded through.
So the later, I mean, this
Yes.
I don't remember the breakdown on this. I know you know this, but these were done with a engraving pen or whatever you will.
Yeah, we kind of passed right by the VIN on this car. The earliest cars had hand engraved VINs. And it pretty much lines up with the cars built, or I should say completed by Shelby in October of '66. By November, they were stamping the VIN plates.
Okay.
Of the, I think we have maybe 10 or 11 cars that we have engraved VIN plates for. I forget, but what makes this car and 18 a little unique, again, it's the smallest little things change it. The VIN on all other engraved cars has the hyphen after the paint code. After the paint code. And on the first day of production cars, 10 and 18, it's flipped. Right? So it's -5 instead of 5 hyphen.
Okay, so another odd thing. What are all these holes?
Yeah.
Are those alignment holes where they were measuring the cars for the fiberglass, or were they?
There are a lot of extra holes on this car. If you look at the core support on top, even in the front of the core support, and then down the.
On these or these?
So why are they there?
All the way around.
I don't know.
That's a good question. I'm hoping someone calls you up and says they remember why.
So I think that what helped us tremendously when we finally got down to the drag car was we figured out the name Metzger.
I mean, I don't know
So
why they
on your
would
sheet of
pick
paper
these
over
up.
there,
But then
I might be pronouncing it wrong. I see the name Geddes. Who do you think was the original owner of this car after it left Ford?
Well, Ray Geddes was in charge of Ford's sports car program.
Okay.
And Ford's policy was that all fixed assets had to be assigned to an individual rather than a department. Kind of eliminated the finger pointing potential problems, right? So there were a lot of cars whose Geddes' name is attached to. It doesn't mean they were his, doesn't mean he ever sat behind the wheel.
Gotcha.
But he was the responsible party for that asset.
It's like Herb Rebecki for Corvettes. Okay, got it.
Right.
I did not know that, so that's cool. So we're not looking for him.
We're not looking for, unfortunately, the checker flag waved for him too.
Okay.
But what we would hope to know is who was the employee that Ford sold this car to?
Exactly.
Okay.
And did they work in the engineering department? That would be another
So
question.
those of
would be
you that are watching and you know where any 67 Shelby is, period, especially one that you saw in the past that was dark moss green, which I'm assuming this car left and was not white, or do we even know that?
There's a rumor that this car may have been painted a heavy candy red.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with the Green Hornet, another car that Jason restored, heavy candy green, this was rumored to have been painted a heavy candy red and may have served some sort of show purpose at Ford.
So if you're out there and this is ringing a bell, candy apple red, dark moss green, white, supercharged emblems on the side, supercharger under the hood, reach out to us at social@cdg.com. We need to figure out who the earliest owner was of this car, so hopefully we can track it back and say definitively this is what was on it when it left the engine. Digging through your documents at the end of it, you know, your family member, friend, whoever's got it, and you see 003 at the end of it, that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Outstanding,
Absolutely.
sir. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Impressive.
That's a Holy Grail Mustang.
Thank you.
So, after the in-depth dive on car 3, what I would like to do, because it is my favorite year of Shelby's, but I love all 65 to 70 Shelby's, are the 67. As you know, Brian is in charge of the SRG Shelby Research Group, which focuses on 67s. So if I could steal you for 10 more minutes, I want to walk around and see all the 67s in the show, and you just give us your quick take on what's significant on that particular 67.
Let's do it.
For me, obviously it's black, so let's go.
Here we go. As a matter of fact, this car was strategically positioned next to 3 because this is a very early built car. It's a single digit, double digit car. This is car 51. Nate Jones's car, picked this up down in Peru last year. It's spent its whole life pretty much down in Peru. Black, super rare, GT350 4-speed, painted black, 20 cars.
So there were 20 black
20
cars.
black
Black is
cars.
my favorite color on, I don't care if it's a Jeep CJ or a Ferrari. My favorite, so one of only 20.
4 speeds.
Wow.
GT350 4 speeds. There were 31 GT350 automatics.
Okay.
And there were 3 GT500s painted black, 2 4 speeds and 1 automatic.
He has one of them. All right, let's keep rolling. That's awesome.
I like black too.
Yeah.
Love it. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Okay,
you got to get the lights.
There you go.
Look over here what we were talking about. Exactly.
When did that stop?
68?
No. That started on the earliest cars. If you look at the 2 advertising cars, they had a bright trim ring around it, the lime green car and the red car. This was regular production. These are known as the eye-level brake and turn signal lights. They are not running lights. They were on the brake and turn signal circuit. Okay. Again, just like the Scoops, technology stolen from the race cars. It's estimated that they're on approximately 150 cars. There's an official memo dated December 2nd when Fred Goodell, the Ford guy, took over engineering, chief engineering position, and they deprecated that feature, ended it officially December 2nd, but they said that cars in the queue or in the tunnel being worked on would still be finished with them. So we do have cars finished throughout December and even a little bit into January that do have this feature. About 150 cars.
Eye-level turn signal lights.
Brake and turn signal.
Which is cool.
But
Super
you know,
cool.
who's going to see that? Because you're going to be ahead of everybody. Nobody's going to pass you in that car.
People stand on the side waiting.
Well, you can see them. You can see them from the back.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Killer in black. All right, whatever 67s do we have? Brittany blue,
I love this.
arguably one of the most sought after colors. Me, it's black, but Brittany blue is probably the one I get asked for the most.
Can't go wrong blue. Now, if you noticed on the black car's tail panel, all right, that's what we call a flat tail panel.
And this is good.
This has got the raised tail panel right here, all right, and that was done to push the lights out a little bit further so you can get the spare in and out without a whole lot of struggle.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
Also, it's got the all fiberglass deck lid,
Okay.
right, and all fiberglass hood.
But the difference in the glass, too.
And this, of
Correct.
course, is a GT500, so you went from the 289K code to the 428 with 2 4s.
Special Interceptor.
There you go.
Yep. Yep. Beautifully restored car. Well done, Tom.
That is killer. All right. And I think we got a lime gold car down here, don't we?
We do. And there's some on the backside, too.
Okay, so we were talking earlier, to me, there's no bad color of a Shelby, but you did kind of mention one.
No.
That you're not a fan of. What did you say, is bronze?
Bronze? Bronze is a tough one to love.
Okay.
Bronze is a tough one to love. As a matter of fact, a lot of bronze cars were canceled and changed to lime green.
So this was the most popular color
25%.
in 67.
25%.
And then it became the least popular color in the most color change color, correct?
Correct. That was one of our trivia contests, is what color, original factory color, was the most changed from, and lime green, where's that?
Do you have any idea of the numbers
And
that were
I
actually
like
painted this color?
I like
25%.
Yeah.
I'd have to give you an exact, 1/4 of the cars were actually lime green. That's 350s and 500s.
I like it, I guess because it looks like a refrigerator, but I love it.
You were raised in a mobile home too.
Yeah, linoleum floor.
Yeah, green. Of course, that carpet. Me too.
No, I love it.
Purple green carpet.
I like
Well,
lime. I like
remember,
it.
popular colors oftentimes come back to the advertising cars.
So then again, we're back to an early car.
And this was that. Yes.
This is car 111. 111. And it's this gentleman's car right there. You got beers for the rest of us? Huh? You got beers for the rest of us?
All right.
Yeah, come on, let's get blown out and fall down.
Let's roll on. Let's get through the 67s. Now this car looks like an unrestored car, but it also looks like it's probably been painted.
Been painted. Yeah,
But I like it. I like it.
Painted in 80.
It doesn't look like it's been hit straight in the front.
Now, subtle differences. That 51 car, the black car we first looked at, had this early slanted grill. Notice there'd be no emblem on a slanted grill, okay? But the inboard mounting mechanisms, okay, changed from a band clamp system, right, to clamp the lights, to a bracket system.
Did you say band camp?
Band clamp. Band camp.
Band clamp.
Justin.
Dad joke.
Mine out of the gutter.
And there was also a transition on the grills from a single piece that went from the top to the bottom to a 2-piece. And I believe those changes took place early December of 66.
That's important. Remember that.
That's interesting.
Okay.
There is no more difficult car than one of these 67 Shelbys to restore, to get it right. Too many changes.
I agree. That's why I like the original car so much.
Yeah. Yeah, the references. What's happening?
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Doing great. She's looking good.
So another extremely popular color.
Great to
so
see it here.
We're talking.
This is the one that came with all the cool stuff in the
Just got
Okay.
Yeah.
Night in this blue.
No, this is Hunt's.
Okay.
Oh boy.
How are you, sir?
I'm great. How about you?
Beautiful car.
Thank you very
Wow.
much.
Outstanding color.
I'm the last original owner, and this car's got 8,000 miles on it. I bought it when I was 19 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I did.
8,000 actual miles. This gentleman bought it when he was 19 years old.
Yep.
Now here's the interesting thing about this car. You look under the hood and you do a double take. Why are there 2 carburetors on a small block? Why don't you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you why. When I used to work at the Shelby dealership, okay, when I was 19. I worked in the high performance department. I took care of receiving and documenting all the cars coming from Shelby, okay? We did all the warranty work. We worked on all the customers' cars. We raced 2 cars. We were getting ready to race this car. I was 19 years old. I talked to Carol about twice a week on everything. So we were racing our 66 Shelby and doing very well with it. We set the E-Gas national record at Raceway Park in 1970 with that small block Ford, which is amazing. So during my course of talking to Carol, I had ordered this car. It hadn't got in yet. Number one, I didn't realize this was my car because when I was unloading the truck at the time, I was looking for a dark moss green. Well, come to find out, the salesman checked the wrong block when I ordered the car, so I ended up getting dark blue instead of dark green. So all the cars, this was the last one, is up on the top. It was the last car I unloaded. And I told Carol, I said, before I was going to get this shipment, I said, I was 19, I was making $1.60 an hour, and I was wanting to buy this car, and so I wanted to race it, and I said, Mr. Burns told me that he would help me, and Carol said, I'm going to help you also.
Really?
That's what he told me. When I opened the trunk on this car, that intake manifold, those carburetors, that air cleaner, the T-pan, the corny shocks, the two-piece scatter shield that's on this car was in that trunk. No charge.
Oh wow.
Wow. Is that a buddy casting intake?
Yes.
Okay.
And he said, I want to help you. He said, I can't believe a 19-year-old was wanting to do something like this. He said, and I understand you're struggling. He said, and I'm going to help you with this car. So we've been friends forever. I used to get Christmas cards from Carol. My wife and him were very good friends. I've got postcards or Christmas cards with him sitting in his yellow Cobra in front of his factory. I've got his Texas chili mix in display boxes. Just anything he would send me, I've got in my boardroom at home.
So you were working at the dealership. You were familiar with the high performance catalog.
Yeah.
The tri-power setup was pretty common.
Yeah.
The 2.4 was rare.
Right.
I mean, to see that is really, really unusual. I've had a number of the tri-power, 289 intakes, but to see a 2.4 like that is really unusual.
Well, let me just tell you, I've got this book. I've got my catalog, all the stuff that goes with this car. I've got every Shelby parts catalog that was ever made. I've got all kinds of scribble and stuff when I was fixing customers' cars and doing work on the customers' cars. And so, but you can open that folder up, and I've got arrows pointing to every piece that belongs to Shelby that he sent me.
Wow.
This fuel log right here, I don't know if you've ever seen that fuel log. That's a Shelby part.
That's a Shelby.
That's a Shelby part.
I'll be there.
Okay. And the heads on this car are Shelby race heads. So the reason I don't get this car judged by Concord people and the club,
Well, of course,
is because they're going to say, well, this is right,
No,
this is wrong, this is wrong. Well, but you know what? I don't care. My love
What are
for
the
that
codes on the
man
heads, Brian? Have you ever looked at them?
Oh, I hadn't
gave me
looked
all
at them.
these parts.
They're still
Concord ones on
19s.
this car.
So they're just probably amazing. It literally smells and looks new. And Night Mist Blue is, again, blue. Once again,
Don't
can't
say
go,
it.
I hate to keep saying this. I mean, you got Brittany Blue, Night Mist Blue, black, all stellar colors.
Yeah.
Well, this is outstanding, sir. It is so cool to see somebody to be a caretaker of a car like this. You rock.
Well,
Nice to meet you and an honor to see your car.
I
I think it's 67 Shelby Day, Cowboy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say that's pretty stud.
Wow. Wow.
Don't forget to email me. I'll get you
I'm
that
floored.
document.
We just spent all that time on 67s, but those are two of the finest 67s on the planet. That night, this
That
blue
last
car,
one, I'm telling you, is a stud.
it really is. And your engineering car,
Oh,
Silver
the
Blue,
black
is
car.
Yeah,
amazing.
beside the engineering car, to me, that is stellar.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
It's a tough decision.
No. I think they're two separate animals.
Well, I'm talking about the black car. Black car, Night Mist.
So again, Brian Stiles with SRG Shelby Research Group, car number 3. We need your help.
Absolutely, we do.
All right, thanks for your time, sir.
You bet.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to step up into the 1968s right now because JD said, why are we walking past all these beautiful
I
shows?
want to know why, yeah.
Well, because the first part of the show is about 67s.
I understand that, but 67s is over. We're moving on to 68s and Boss 429s. Can we do that?
We can. How are you, sir?
Doing good.
We spoke last night just for a minute,
Just for a minute.
but you said you had a great story on this car.
Got a great story on this car. My name's Alan Stroh. I actually wrangled this car for Pete Bentovich. He's standing over here, walking over this way.
Okay.
This car was bought new in Indianapolis. It's the only air-conditioned car that's one of 16, but it's the only air-conditioned car sold in the Midwest. For a Midwest car, it's 1 of 1.
Okay.
Okay, the rest of them are on the West Coast because air conditioning is not big around here. This car went through, how long was the restoration on this, Pete? 4 years?
3.
3?
Yeah.
Okay, went through
Pete, you're
3.
the owner?
Yes.
Hi, Dennis Collins.
I know.
Okay. JD Pass.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah.
And anyways, this has been a labor of love for Pete and for myself for the last several years. We took this on the ISC circuit last year, second in the world, restored. Aaron Shelby saw it in Chicago, said it was the nicest KR in the world.
That is
That's pretty stellar.
fantastic statement.
Yep. And we've done work to it since then.
Okay, so you got an air car, is it 4-speed or automatic?
4-speed.
Of
Yeah, I
course.
mean, it's got all the
16, yeah.
Yes.
It's got all the options on it. I mean, nobody's walked up to and said, "Oh, gee, too bad. It's not an automatic."
How much you spend on the display? That's what I want to know.
Lots.
Yeah, y'all got a little overzealous with it.
Yeah,
Well, you know what? You lose track. You just keep adding to
That's
it.
exactly.
Keep adding
Trust
to
me,
it.
it's a sickness we all have.
Yeah, the situation with this display is the first time I was involved with the display, they'd put it up a couple of times, another couple of guys had.
Well, we're gonna have to. Can we step
Can we
over?
step over?
yeah,
Yeah, come on in and help yourself.
It's almost just too nice to get close to, right, Cowboy?
Well, that's what I didn't.
Oh, open her up, man.
We can open this up. It's no problem.
So I don't have a clone to this, but I have one that's similar. I've got a non-AC hubcap car, but it's been in the garage since '76, and we actually started it today.
Yeah, that's the video.
Which
you
is
showed
always,
me.
yeah, I showed you in the restaurant, which is always cool when you get one going again.
Yeah.
But it's one of the very few I've ever seen that's 100% original paint. Sick. Candy apple force speed. This is phenomenal.
This one here, primarily the trim, the bodywork, the glass, the majority of the glass and everything is all original on this car. Obviously the paint's been redone, but
beside condition-wise and the phenomenal restoration you guys did, what really sets this car apart, multiple things, but one, it's KR. Two, it's 4-speed.
Yeah.
And 3, it's got air.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That just, wow. That was an expensive car when it was new.
And it drives nice. 47,000 miles.
That's crazy. Our car's got 46. So very
it is
similar
almost
cars.
a clone.
Very
Yeah.
similar, yeah.
Wow. $5,315. So you're talking $900 more than a supercharged 4-speed 67. You're getting up there in money. This is about as much money as you could have spent in 68 other than a convertible can.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's about the priciest one you could buy. We are taking this up to McCacken here in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks. Then after that, I'm going to haul it down to Florida for a couple of shows, and we're going to take it to Amelia Island. So, but it's a super nice car.
Beautiful car.
That's fantastic. Thank you guys for showing it
bet.
to us.
Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate
Incredible
it.
restoration.
Yep.
You bet.
Thank you.
There you go. One fine
Good meeting you,
68.
sir.
Wow.
Take care.
JD, tell me about these cars.
Well, Boss 429s basically are one of my favorite cars, and I've owned several of them. There's a lot of unique features of the Boss 429. They were actually what Richard Petty drove around before he went to Mopar. This is pretty of an amazing car in a Boss 429, and in the early stages when they homologated these cars, they had a bigger cam in them. Then they come out later with a T-code. So when the earlier cars were built, people drove them around on the highway, and you'd have to ride them around at 3,000 RPMs because they were just angry at an idle. You had to actually drive the car before you could enjoy it. Also had smog pumps and things to make it legal when they went through it. But these are just Carcraft car built cars that are they're one of my favorites. And the telltale sign's a big scoop. There's no scoop like this scoop on any Mustang as the Boss 429. Candy apple red Boss 429 is probably one of my favorite cars in the world. And, you know, the fact that this is an early code car, it thumps and runs, but it will be angry sitting at the red light. So this is and y'all know I love Boss 429s, and I just kind of made a little deal about the red one and a little joke about them a little bit. This right here is a Survivor, and extremely rare color. I mean, you can tell me how many what is there, maybe 40 of them made?
Oh, no.
50?
There's close to 100, I think.
Was there close to 100 of
Orange.
them? You just don't see them. You see the reds, you see the blacks, you see the blues, but you don't see this color very often. And for a Boss 429, I see that, and you've had it since 1980, traded in new. This is pretty.
I got it from a friend
To me, it's
of mine who
almost
got it from
intimidating.
the original owner.
You got it from, so you're a third owner car.
Yes,
Two,
sir.
three owner car. Yes. Now I see that it doesn't have the smog on it.
Yeah, and all of that came in a box.
Box, and you got the
Yeah,
box.
I got that box that had all the parts taken off of it. So kind
Well.
of made it pretty special.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. Look here. There's the story right there. Well, again,
There it is. That's what makes it.
that's me. That in the big hood. It's like a big hat. You wear the
Yeah,
big
that
hat,
big
and this
black
is
hat.
even black. This has even got a black hat on. Well, Jim, beautiful car.
All right.
And
Thank
I love
you,
your car.
JD.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, buddy.
You bet.
See ya. Thank y'all.
So we're with Matt Taylor right now, and this is definitely one of my favorite cars of the show. I love barn find style cars. I don't know anything about your car, I don't know if it's a barn find or not, but
Yeah,
it sure
close.
looks like it. So
Yeah.
tell us about your 65.
So it came out of a lake house in Georgia. It's kind of an abandoned house. The guy had moved,
2 hours south and basically just walked away from the house. A good buddy of mine, they had posted a Shelby steering wheel on Facebook and basically asked if it was an original style wheel to the community. And he chimed in and they said, well, you know, we've got a 65, a 66, and a bunch of cars. And, you know, initially you're like, yeah, okay. You know, so we go down there and sure enough, they had this 65. It was under a car covered. It was the only car covered. And it was in the garage. The house was falling in. They had moved years ago. And
so the humidity that got trapped in the car cover did that.
The roof was falling in, the foundation was falling, you know, it was cracking on the house, but luckily nothing had damaged the car. There's still prints of the car cover where it stuck to it, especially on the
One of my
cow.
pet peeves.
Yeah.
No car covers.
All the other cars, none of them had a cover on them, and they were all in much better aesthetic condition than this one. Had the
So
original,
how long had this been sitting?
I think since about 89 or 90. Wow. I got it in November of 21. We went down there, put eyes on it. Took about 3 months to do the deal, and then brought it home in January of 21.
So it looks like you mechanically serviced it?
Yeah, mechanically. When I got to it, had the original engine, radiator. It had a 2.4 Cobra over-the-counter intake setup on it.
We just looked at one of those on a Night Miss Blue car over there, which
Well,
we commented that the 2.4 is actually rarer than the 3.2s.
Yeah, it is, and there's a lot of, well, there's a picture I've got when the car was nice, and on the back he had wrote 8V Cobra induction. But luckily, he had tons of parts scattered in closets, and he had the whole intake, carburetor, and air cleaner with the wing nut still on it in the attic. So we put that back on. Rebuilt the engine, drivetrain, brakes, fuel system.
So a factory Krager wheel car?
Yep, Krager. It was a Krager no stripe car. So at some point in time, they had painted the stripes on it.
I love what you did. I would not restore this car. Is it your intention to leave it like this?
Yeah. When I first got it, I was like, I'm gonna blow it apart, redo the whole thing. But then everybody was like, you know, you go to a show, you're gonna see 5 or 6 already restored.
So Nate said, the owner of that car, said that you actually drive this car.
Yeah, I took it on the cruise yesterday, about 60 miles. That was the furthest I had taken it.
How cool is that?
I've had it done for like 2 years, but it did fine.
So you've got the original steering. Did you get the original steering wheel too, or did they sell it on Facebook?
Yeah. No, well, he had so many extra parts that was a wheel that he just had in his parts inventory. So yeah, that wheel, I didn't have to do anything in the interior. It had a little mold in it, but nothing had got in and chewed any wiring or the seats.
How many miles are on it?
26,000.
That is awesome.
The raccoons had been basically living all over the car cover.
I love what you have done with this patina style. That's outstanding. Thanks for showing it to us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for
Thank you very
bringing
much.
it.
Yeah, appreciate
That's awesome.
it. Thank you.
Awesome. Now we're going to roll on to a Barn Find 70 Shelby convertible. All right, now the other really cool Barn Find 70 GT350 convertible. As you know, these were carryover cars from 1969.
Well, it's got AC too.
AC, and it's yellow.
Yeah.
So I talked to Stu a little bit earlier.
How you doing?
I didn't get all the details on the car, just enough that I said I wanted to come back because we're closing out the segment today on these last 2 Barn Find cars. So can you tell JD now about your car?
Well, this was a tobacco barn find car.
Not just a barn find, tobacco.
Tobacco barn.
Does it smell like tobacco in it? Okay.
It's like finding one in a chicken house. There's a difference.
So, this is one of 5 yellow convertibles they built in '70. 3 of them are 4 speeds. One of them is an automatic, so it's 101.
Okay.
So Mom and Dad owned a Ford dealership in Louisville, Kentucky and Nashville, Tennessee. And when Junior was 16, this was his car.
Wow.
So they said he could only drive it on weekends. So when he graduated and what have you, they had low miles on the thing. So I don't know what he did, but he wrecked the car on the passenger side, on the fender of the door, and the quarter, but yet the rockers all still there day coded on the other side. So that's why it had 70 marker lights in the rear, because they're ordering parts for this car for a 70 convertible.
Gotcha.
So they got a 70 quarter.
Right, even though this was a 69 carryover rebid car.
That's right.
Got it. Okay.
So then, while the car is getting fixed in Kentucky, Junior goes out on his motorcycle and has a really bad wreck and passes away. So they're dealing with that. Dad was already sick, so what I heard, like 3 or 4 months later, Dad passes away. So Mom calls Phil's body shop in Kentucky and says, I never want to see this car again. So Phil says, well, I got a tobacco barn on the farm. I'll throw it in the tobacco barn. She didn't care, so that's where the car went. It still has the original convertible top on it, the day-coated back glass.
So how long has this car been sitting?
I was going to say.
When was it put in the tobacco barn? In 70?
34 years ago, and it was put in there in 1976.
Yeah,
77, 76 is when it went to the tobacco barn.
Seems like the year a lot of cars were parked. We actually have 2 Shelbys right now that were parked at 76, and it's a 13,000 mile car.
Right.
That's really cool. Well, there you go. We're going to end our segment today on the 2 barn finds. Stu, thanks for showing it to us.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing it. Great car. 1 of 1, yellow, automatic, GT350 70 convertible. Get you some of that, cowboy.
And out of a tobacco barn.
There you go. Now we got a special thing for you guys today. As you know, we're always chasing 65 to 70 Shelbys. We'll buy them dead or alive. I'm going to put a reward out there on a couple of cars. So car 969 is a car that a lot of people are looking for, and I have been tasked with finding it. So if you know where a 67 Shelby is, don't worry about what color it is now or what it used to be, but the car was a night mist blue parchment interior car. Go to your neighbors, go to your grandfathers, go to your parents, go to your friend's house, look at the 67. If you get underneath the hood and look at the Shelby tag, which we looked at these earlier, what we're looking for is car at the very tail end is 0969. Now, I'll read you the full VIN, saved in my notes section. Where I'm going with this, if you will show me where that car is, I will pay you $5,000. All I need to do is walk up and document it that it still exists. And obviously at that point in time, I'm going to try to buy it. If I buy that car, whoever found the car that takes me to, I'm going to pay you $50,000. So you got a $50,000 reward out there for car number 67402 Frank 2 Union 00939. We need to find that car. Another car that we're also looking for in the Shelby communities, specifically the SRG, Brian Stiles, I want to try to help him find this car, is 67211 Frank 7 Apple 00176. That was a press car that is significant to Shelby Research Group because they want to see how that car was built and how it left the factory. So 939 and 176. Now 176, I have a $5,000 reward on it. 939, if I get it bought, we'll have a $5,000 reward again if you just take me to the car, and a $50,000 reward if I get it bought. Thanks for watching this week.
As always, please
Like, tag, share, and follow, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next week.